Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you another video. All right, so Shams is going around telling everybody the Lakers want DeJounte Murray. And I think it's a good idea the Lakers target DeJounte Murray. I really do. I think it's a fantastic idea. This whole idea about getting Zach LaVine, I just don't look at him as an answer for our problems. If we're going to be stripping out D'Lo, he's just another person that needs the ball from a point guard who ain't going to have it because that point guard ain't going to get him the ball because that point guard ain't going to be here. So if you're not going to bring me a facilitator, don't bother moving D'Angelo Russell. However, DeJounte doesn't have that problem. DeJounte isn't point guard. He's going to be looking for others. He's going to be looking for his own shot. He's going to play defense, the two-way player that we ultimately need in our starting lineup that can fit in other rotations. Unlike D'Angelo Russell, who can't be placed next to Austin Reeves, and Austin Reeves, who can't necessarily be placed next to D'Angelo Russell without significantly harming the defense. We don't have that problem. You bring in DeJounte Murray. Now, truth is, DeJounte Murray is a much higher tier than both of those guys. So obviously, you're not looking at the same dynamic. Now, me personally, I came on here yesterday saying we need to go after Trae Young, but with the way Trae Young is playing, there's no way we're going to have the trade package to get Trae Young at this juncture. It's not happening. The Hawks probably don't want to trade him at all. He's been averaging basically 30 points and 10 assists over the last 10 games. I mean, he's basically an MVP candidate. So trying to get him, you probably have to throw in Anthony Davis to basically get Trae Young today with the value that he's probably going to hold. And plus, at the end of the day, DeJounte Murray is a transplant from San Antonio. They did give away a lot to get him, but as we predicted when they did it, it wasn't going to get them over the hump. So they probably do best to try to move on from one of those two guys, and given the fact that DeJounte isn't the guy they drafted, they'd probably be more likely to want to move on from him. Plus, they drafted Kobe Buffkin, and we haven't seen him play yet, but we also understand that he was drafted to be a leading guard. So this is a situation where it's probably addition by subtraction. You also got Bogdan. Bojan's in Detroit. Bogdan is in Atlanta. He's also playing a very, very strong level of basketball right now as well, and probably has a lot of value right now too. I know the Lakers were interested in him at one point, so the point I'm trying to make in regards to bringing him up is the fact that they just have too many people at the guard spot that likely need minutes, that likely would make them a better team if they could condense some of the minutes going to one or two guys and maybe condense it to these guys or what have you. More Trae Young, more Bogdan, more Kobe. So I don't know if the Hawks are thinking that way. The Hawks, in my humble opinion, haven't always made good decisions. I didn't think trading for DeJounte Murray, giving the Spurs a bunch of picks, was a good decision at all. Even though I love DeJounte Murray for the Hawks, or anybody really for that matter, DeJounte Murray just in general is a fantastic player, fits a lot of places. And I think that now that DeJounte Murray is somebody that Shams is being reported as covetable, I think there will be other suitors that are going to want DeJounte Murray that could probably outbid us for him. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think it's much different in regards to Trae Young. You're just going to find teams that are going to have more to give, which is going to stranglehold the Lakers into letting go of people they don't want to get rid of, particularly Austin Reeves. It's going to be very difficult to get anybody of cachet that is covetable without giving up Austin. I'm just letting y'all know that right now. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I don't want to trade Austin. I've heard that Austin is off the table. But the packages that we have, especially since now that Gabe Vincent is hurt, and a lot of the money that we would have loved to have traded is now wrapped up in his circumstance, it's just not likely we're going to be able to do anything without giving away Austin. This is not likely. Someone would have to be willing to take less. And so what we would likely need is one of the players, the main piece, whoever it is, DeJounte, to make a trade demand to tank his value so that, basically him telling us that we're the only place he would want to go would likely tank that value to make it more palatable for us to make the trade. But then again, when you look at what happened with Dame Lillard, you may not want to do that if you're the player. Sometimes it can go another way. And you push the team that you're on into a position to where their assets don't cost as much and they may have a vendetta against you and send you everywhere but where you want to go, which seems to be the strategy of owners these days. So I don't know that trade demands really work like they used to. So it's a stretch, man. The Lakers are more likely to be able to trade for Zach LaVine because nobody wants Zach LaVine's contract. But given the fact that DeJounte Murray has 4 years left on his deal, a very Reasonable deal for what you expect him to play like. He's a young player, probably only like 26 years old or something like that right now. All-star level guy, two-way guy, fits everywhere. Can play the two, comfortable with the one. It's just going to be hard for me to see the Lakers winning that bid outright. It's just going to be another team that'll pop up, be like, yo, yeah, we want him to, and we'll give you more. As to which the Hawks will likely be inclined to do that. So that's my concern with this. Do I want to give up Austin Reeves for anything? Honestly, don't. I think there's 4 players on this roster that I do not want to trade at all. Austin Reeves, Vanderbilt, Bron, and AD. Everybody else, I'll part with for the right price. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm interested in letting go of them or shopping them. Max Chrisley, I'm not interested in shopping him. Rui Hachimura, I'm not interested in shopping him, even though I had a lot to say about him not playing well yesterday. That doesn't zoom out to me wanting to trade him in any way. I don't particularly want to get rid of Jalen Hood-Schifino until I know exactly what he can do. And that's probably where it ends, to be honest with you. Cam Reddish, I like Cam Reddish a lot, but he's frustrated me with his offense. And I don't know that he fits everywhere, particularly on our roster. I need more two-way guys. I need guys that can do two things, not just play one side of the ball. And the only player that I really need that can only play one side of the ball is probably Vanderbilt. And so if I can move certain guys that can only do one thing and bring back guys who could do two, that's probably in my best interest. And that's where the Lakers have struggled. That's the issue that the Lakers have had. I was listening to a podcast last night, and that's what the guy was saying. Like, since Bron and AD has gotten here, it's been very difficult for the Lakers to find two-way talent. I mean, obviously Bron and AD are, but after that, it's like the role players that we've had just generally can only play one side of the ball. So I think the path for us now is to try to find guys who can do both while not destroying our cap flexibility. And I was listening to as it stands talk about the Zach LaVine contract. He's a pro Zach LaVine trade guy, and he wants, he's more or less making the case that it doesn't hurt us as much, given the fact that we don't have a whole lot of cap space anyway. So it's not like bringing him in is going to hurt our cap situation. But I don't look at it like that. When a player has injury issues, you could be potentially bringing in a contract that you cannot move out. And given the fact that we went through what we went through with Russell Westbrook, it ain't about how our cap looks when we get him. It's about being able to be flexible enough to get rid of him if you need to. And with a guy like Zach LaVine, as you can clearly see, the Bulls trying to get rid of him. So why would I think I wouldn't be trying to at some point? I need to be able to move that contract. And him at $40 million is not at cost. That's not at cost. That is an inflated contract that no one should want. And that's why I'm staying away from it. Even though he may feed the need to give me some scoring, he's no more two-way than anybody else that we have trouble with. He's only going to play the offensive side of the ball. He doesn't do nothing defensively. So why am I bringing him in to fix my problem? I'm not. So I encourage our front office to stay away from that contract. I don't care if they give it away for free. I don't want it. That's what it really comes down. I'm cool on that contract. Now, if you want to give me Alex Caruso, that's a two-way guy that we know. Obviously, we raised him in our system. Obviously, he's won a championship with us in the bubble. Of course I want that guy back. That's who I want. His offense has gotten significantly better since he left here. That's who's on Chicago's roster that I want. And, of course, Kobe White, of whom should not be obtainable anymore. But everybody else on that Chicago roster, I could live without, just like some of the dudes we got. I don't need them dudes. So that's how I feel about Chicago. I'm cool on them. We've talked about DeMar DeRozan, how much help he could be to a team, but I think his contract looks good on top of that. But I've been kind of cool on him. Honestly, I'm not overly enthused about bringing him in either. Pat Will would be an interesting player to bring into our team. I like Pat Williams, but why would they want to get rid of him? You know what I'm saying? These are the type of things when you look at Chicago, like I don't particularly think they want to get rid of some of the guys that I would ultimately want. Ayo Dosunmu, I don't see him much different than Cam Reddish. He's like Cam Reddish. So it's like I don't care for Chicago's roster. I don't think they care for their roster. That's why they're trying to blow it up. So if Zach LaVine was on a contract that was suitable for what it is I want, then I'd bring him in. He fits a need. He can score a bunch. But I don't look at him as anybody any different than D'Angelo. He's just more expensive D'Angelo Russell. Different strengths and weaknesses, but you're gonna have the same frustration by the time it's over with. You're just gonna want to move him, and he's gonna be even harder to move. So I already know that, and my interest in getting Zach LaVine doesn't exist. I'm cool. I'm completely cool, and that's the end of that. I know people are talking about Andre Drummond, but I know what Andre does, man. Andre turns the ball over, fam. Andre is a guy who's going to turn the ball over a lot. He turns the ball over at a historic rate for a center. Every time they swarm him, the ball is going the other way. And so while he can rebound a lot, he's going to give it up on the other end with turnovers. So I have no interest in bringing in a turnover machine at the center position. Hell no. Now when you're going up against teams like Boston and OKC to steal the ball for a living, no, I'm not doing that. So like certain things I'm cool on, man. I do like the idea of getting Nick Richards from the Charlotte Hornets if the price is right. I think if we can make a small move that gives away something that doesn't hurt us, then of course you want to bring in a center like that on a good contract. If you look at what Mo Bamba's doing in Philly, you saw what type of game he had on Christmas. I would love to bring Mo Bamba back. I don't think we ever gave him a shot. I don't think he proved himself to be anything less than solid. And we just kind of lost him in the presence of trying to do other things. We just, he signed with somebody else. But the only time we ever saw him play, he was hurt. And what I saw from him on Christmas Day, he should be cheap. So I wouldn't mind trying to get him back from Philly. They're not doing nothing with him. And so these are the type of things I think the Lakers need to be doing. Trying to upgrade their center position is most important, especially since the coach doesn't believe in Christian Wood. And Jackson Hayes is just proving to not be what we need. I don't know where Jackson would actually fit, man. To be honest with you, I don't really think he's an NBA player, if I'm being real. And I told you guys what I think he can do. He's a high efficiency interior scorer, but he can't shoot the three. Doesn't have a mid-range game. He can't play defense. And those are some glaring weaknesses for a guy who's an undersized center, more or less. I personally think he needs to get in the gym and put on about 20 or 30 pounds of weight if he really wants to be a problem in this league. I really believe that. If he really wants to be somebody who can hurt somebody in the paint in a positive way, it's going to be about strength building for that dude. Because right now he just gets pushed around too much, and he don't have the length to make it make sense. So that's my thing with Jackson Hayes. He might be a zero asset. I don't know that we can get rid of him for nothing or bring in anything that would otherwise make us better if we move him. You can probably bring in another player at a different position that's similar to him. I don't know that helps you at all. So this is the problem with the Lakers. When we talk about us being an average team, you start looking around at these type of pieces, and you're like, okay, that's what makes us average. It ain't Bron and AD. Nah, it's the other stuff that we have to use or is reluctant to use that makes the Lakers just average. And when people say the Lakers don't have the trade package, this is why. Because this guy ain't worth much. That guy ain't worth much. Everybody knows that guy is okay. Everybody knows that guy can only play one side of the ball. It's just a bunch of that all over your roster. And so we were going for trying to keep our books clean, but you got to understand that value fluctuates. So you might have a good contract when you sign it. If you can keep that guy playing at the level that everybody understands him to be at, then you can, of course, keep your books clean. But once your assets start losing value because your coach don't use them right, or because they go down with an injury and now that contract suddenly looks garbage, now you don't have the same situation. You just got a bunch of stuff nobody wants. And that's where the Lakers are, stuck in no man's land with a bunch of stuff nobody wants. So, this is why the Lakers have to try to get some things done that work for themselves. And having the right person at the helm, the coaching position, is key to that, because he can either get the most out of your players or the worst out of your players. And when you get the worst out of your players, you're not going to have that value that's going to allow you to net yourself anything in trade. I don't want the Lakers to give up picks, man. I know we have one tradable first rounder right now. At the end of the year, we'll have 3 tradable first rounders if we don't move the one we got right now. And I don't want us to touch any of them. If I'm being honest with you, I'd rather move stuff off the roster than to move for future assets. If I would rather part with a lot of this stuff in this year's roster than to start messing with my future when I don't know what's going to happen with LeBron. If LeBron decides he wants to go to another team, that's a whole massive valuable asset just walking out of the door, turning into dust. You feel me? Turning into dust. No one's going to trade him. And as long as he's playing like LeBron James, we're happy. But if he decides he wants to go to the Magic because Bronny gets drafted to the Magic, his value goes out the door. It dissipates into absolutely nothing. So for me, that's what I'm trying to guard against. Above all else, for my franchise, is him turning into nothing. And I don't know if Jeannie's guarding against that. I don't know if she cares about that. Maybe she's committed to that happening. But I don't know that you can recover from that. I don't know if you can recover from that. That's what I'm telling you guys. And given the fact that we're trying to hold on to Anthony Davis, when Bron leaves, you don't want a whole $1 billion asset or a whole 7 picks worth of asset, whatever LeBron is worth on the market today, to turn into nothing. So that is why I'm sitting here and I'm being very cautious about what it is I do and what it is I don't. Because if I'm not bringing in assets that can make me better later, I'm bringing in guys like Zach LaVine that ain't nobody going to want later, and that does happen, we're really going to be in a much worse spot than we're in right now. So this is why it's like, yo, the Lakers need to make their next move their best move. And if they can't get better, they need to consider what I just said about LeBron James' value. Because you can get 6 picks for him right now, or 5 picks for him right now. You send him to New York and get the whole pick class. But if he decides he just wants to sign with New York next year, then guess what you didn't get? All of that value. So that's never far from my mind. I love where LeBron's at with us, even though he had a bad game yesterday. I didn't really think that was his fault. I was on the minority of that. I didn't really look at his game like he was horrible. I actually loved how he was offensive rebounding or defensive rebounding yesterday in the first half. And then I just thought that they did a great job of putting huge bodies on him and affecting all of the ways he likes to score. And then I thought the knee injury that he sustained also hampered him in the second half. So I actually didn't look at LeBron James having a bad game like a good portion of the world did. I just understood the context of all of that, and I thought the Celtics did a fantastic job on him. But Rui had a horrible game. And I know his plus minus tells me otherwise, but my eyesight tells me he was bad. But nevertheless, it's one of those situations where I look at LeBron James and I say, I don't have a problem with LeBron James so long as he wants to be here, so long as he's committed to being a Laker. But if for any reason he's serious about moving on, we got bigger fish to fry than whether or not we can fix this roster. I'm just being honest with y'all. We got bigger fish to fry. You know, that's a real thing. So if we're stuck in no man's land and we got the inclination that he ain't staying, you better consider what he's worth. You better consider it. And Bron gonna have to forgive me for that. If he follows me, you got to forgive me for that, bro. I got to think about the long-term idea of what my team looks like, man. I gotta know that we're not going to be falling off a cliff when you leave like the Bulls did when Jordan left, because they didn't recover from that. They've sucked ever since. They ain't been good since. And they did get the first pick in the draft. It turned into Derrick Rose, and his knees turned into dust. They ain't been good ever since. And so this is the type of stuff it's like, yo, we're the Lakers. We're always going to want to compete for championships. We always got the Celtics over there competing. They got, 2 superstars in their prime right now. We can't fall off a cliff in this era. They may string together 2 or 3 championships. We'll never catch up with these guys. So, these are things I'm thinking about. I don't know if the regime in place is really, they're too busy trying to be in the moment. We got Bron. You got Bron until you don't. That's the reality of it. And so, if we can get DeJounte Murray, make his team better, make Bron's team better around him, maybe get us this 18th championship somehow, that'd be great. But I don't know how you're going to turn a bunch of stuff that ain't that great into something that is that great. I don't know how you do that. And right now, the Lakers got a trade package. Our ultimate trade package is going to be just pushed around by other teams that have better trade packages. If OKC wants to go after the guy you got, you're gone. If San Antonio wants to go after the guy you got, you're gone. You know what I mean? New York, teams with picks, you're gone. You're not going to be able to get the guy you're after. And there's no guarantee these teams won't do that. If I'm San Antonio, I probably want DeJounte back. I probably want DeJounte back. Especially with all the garbage they got going on surrounding the Wembanyama not getting the ball from all these fake point guards that ain't really point guards. That stuff is garbage. If I'm Atlanta, give me everything I gave you for DeJounte, and I'll send DeJounte back to you, and we can reset our whole situation. properly if I'm Atlanta. I'm not trying to trade DeJounte Murray for a bunch of garbage that the Lakers got in one pick. Give me the package I gave you, and I send you back your guy. That's what I'm doing if I'm San Antonio, and that's what I'm doing if I'm Atlanta. So it's like I don't see the Lakers being able to get who they're targeting, man. I don't see it. Because at the end of the day, Darvin Ham didn't make the guys that we have look any damn good. Now, if he would have been playing Rui, the amount of minutes that he should have been playing Rui would be double the value. If he'd have been starting Austin Reeves like he's supposed to be starting Austin Reeves, Austin be worth double the value. This guy was leaning on Taurean Prince, an expiring contract. What the hell you getting for Taurean Prince? Nothing. But he wanted to start this dude every game, gave him 40 minutes a game like he has no understanding of asset class and the value of what it is to provide yourself with tradable assets. He wants his team to get better, but he don't know how to make the stuff that he has look any good. You know what I'm saying? And that's my problem. We said the same thing about the coach in Detroit. You don't know what the hell he's doing about making his team better, playing guys like Alec Burks and Isaiah Levers, who can't get you 5 pennies in the damn NBA market. I'm going to play them all these games, play them all these minutes. Like, nah, dude. You're supposed to be developing the young guys. Man, I say the same thing about this coach. Christian Wood has a name out here, and you don't want to give him any minutes? Don't you know we can get something for him if you play him to his maximum potential, have him averaging 15, 20 points? You could have had him off your team if you hate the guy. Because that's what it looked like to me, and you play Jackson Hayes over him. You just hate the man. He's a better player than Jackson Hayes in every area. But you want to play Jackson Hayes. What'd he do? Nothing for you. And so this is the type of stuff. It's like, yo, Darvin Ham, and the first order of business is to get him players that he cannot ruin with his creativity. You got to make sure that the guys on the floor are a certain height that can do two-way things so that no matter who he uses, it's going to give you the same result. Because as long as you let him pick and choose all types of stuff, you're going to get exactly what you got here. And the most important thing for me, if at all possible, is to move the Gabe Vincent contract, man. Get that off the books. Get that the hell out of here, man. I do not want him coming back on a knee injury with $15 million a year. No way. That is something we need to turn into something else. So if we could package that with Jackson Hayes and get anything at all, send it out. Addition by subtraction, send it out. Even if you have to send it out for something a little less, like, you know, the Charlotte Hornets center. You know what I mean? I give them that value. Just take that knee injury contract off my books. Like, literally. And so I don't know if that's possible. It's probably not. If I'm all the teams in the league, I'm looking at you and saying, no, I'm not taking that from you. So, you know, I'm aware of that. But that's what I need to do if I'm the GM. I'm getting that out of here as soon as humanly possible. Gabe Vincent contract must leave. And of course, you got to move D'Angelo Russell because he's likely not going to re-sign with you for a price that you would be willing to pay him at, since he has to opt out. Now, as bad as he's been playing, it might be in his best interest not to opt out. But at the same time, it's like you don't expect for him to play like this in the second half of the season. And if for some reason it does come down to him wanting to opt in, it probably went down to where he got hurt or something like that, and now you stuck with him too. So it's like you're probably best moving D'Angelo Russell for multiple reasons. And in my mind, I think D'Angelo Russell probably needs a change of scenery. Like I told y'all a couple weeks ago, before he even started playing this bad, I think he's best in a different system like Dallas or something like that, where it's not incumbent upon him to do all the shooting. And then not incumbent on him to do all the passing, and not incumbent upon him to just play well every night. For which with the Lakers, the role that we've had him in, it is. Moving him to the bench has helped. I think he's been better off the bench. But you're not getting the most out of him now. So it's I don't know, man. Darvin Ham, you know, once again, I'm not a fan of how he's been utilizing these players, man. I don't like his rotations at all. I don't think anybody likes his rotations. I think he's probably the only person that does, to be honest with you. I don't think there's a whole lot to like. He just does a lot of stuff the wrong way, and it gives him the wrong results a lot of the time, man. It is what it is. So, yeah, man. I like TP because TP is probably one of the most reliable shooters we've had in a long time, believe it or not. For all the different things that I complain about with TP, the stretch he's been on shooting a 3-point bomb has been good over the last 12 games. And what it really comes down to is I can't remember a time where a guy I complained about this much ends up getting the game ball this much. I think I've given him the game ball probably 3 times in the last 8 games. Like, literally. And so when it really comes down to it, for all of the stuff that's wrong with Taurean Prince, he's actually been a very reliable 3-point shooter and on a team where we don't have anyone else that is. Point blank, period. And so for that, his value is probably up. And given the fact that he's an expiring contract, he should not be too hard to move. And I hate that we don't have another reliable shooter, but his weaknesses are glaring just the same. And if we can get somebody that can be more reliable, that's on a longer contract, that is a little younger or whatever the case may be, since we got TP playing well, you definitely move him. You definitely move him. So TP, D'Angelo Russell, Jackson Hayes, Gabe Vincent. I need all of that moved. All of that needs to go. And I'm sure there's more too. If you ain't gonna use Christian Wood, obviously, like I said, he has a name. You're not gonna get much for him right now. I would love for coach to stop not playing. Start playing him. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. Put him on the floor, showcase him some, give him the minutes next to Anthony Davis that we saw at the beginning of the season look pretty damn good. He and AD gave us a lot of length, a lot of rebound at the same time. Why you would go away from that is a head scratcher to me. Why you would not want Christian Wood on the floor with Anthony Davis does not make any sense at all. And so I don't believe necessarily you want to play Christian Wood without Anthony on the floor, but together they've done good things for you. And, putting Austin Reeves in the starting lineup as your starting point guard is probably the best way to go. All the basketball analysts have said that. Or ex-players have told us this. It's a big lineup that doesn't have but one ball handler in the lineup, with Bron being the ball handler. For the sake of going double down on defense, you got Cam Reddish and Rui. Cam Reddish and Vanderbilt in the same lineup, for which I wanted to see at the beginning of the season, because I think they could swarm and play defense very well. But now I'm realizing it makes it a 3-on-5 on the other side, because neither one of them scoring at all. I don't love it. I'm of the mindset that Bron, AD, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, and one of Vanderbilt or Cam should probably be their starting lineup. I think that makes the most sense to me. And then you could showcase those guys and bring D'Angelo off the bench, have D'Angelo with one of either Cam Reddish or Vanderbilt in every rotation he's in, so the defense doesn't ever falter while he's down there. And Austin be on the floor with one of them too, the opposite one, so to speak. That way they can offset each other's weaknesses and strengths, because that's exactly what happens a lot of time. And you have Bron, AD, Rui Hachimura, and rotate them in those ways. Bring in TP off the bench, or start TP if you want to continue to, but make sure you bring in Rui for bigger minutes from here on out. I like that we've been playing him more. He struggled yesterday, but keep him above 25 minutes a game, Rui. Keep Rui above that. And get Austin into the 30-minute a night range, please. I don't know why we want him, one of our best players, playing lesser minutes while we out there struggling. I don't think that's going to ultimately make your trade package for guys like DeJounte Murray and whoever else you're trying to get look that great. And so, just like I told the Detroit Pistons, the most important thing for you to do now is to play players who are most productive. Winning games is definitely important for the Lakers, not so much the Detroit Pistons. But playing productive players is important for both of these teams, because now it's trade time, and you need guys playing well. That is it. And if Darvin is refusing to do that, then he is the problem. And so that's what it is, man. Him trying to, mess around and try to figure out what rotations work, trying unorthodox stuff, having us leaning into defensive players only, and putting Austin and D'Lo next to one another off the bench to get cooked at the same time defensively. This type of stuff is it's counterproductive to us getting that trade we want. It could be the difference. And we're in a much more sensitive position now that Gabe Vincent is basically an untradeable asset. for which we were very much counting on to get us whatever we want. So, yeah, man, thinking like a GM, and I need the coach and the GM to be lockstep in every NBA city around the world. Your coach gotta know what helps the GM improve his roster. And if he doesn't understand that, that's what conversations that need to be had all over the league. GMs and coaches need to sit down and help the coach understand what helps the GM and why he should want that every day. He should want to help the GM every day so he can get the best possible roster, rotations. Still, you're not stuck with the crap that you got. If it ain't working, you want to know how to move on from some of this stuff. And this is how. And a lot of times the GM and the coaches don't really communicate, I'm guessing. I don't know, but it seems that way. And so that's why I'm trying to be a bridge to help them understand. I understand the GM's job a lot better than I think a lot of analysts do. For whatever reason, I just get it naturally. The market, I understand the market. And when it comes down to it, if the coach ain't playing players up to their highest value, then he's going to be stuck with them players that don't play well for him. So you got to find a way to magnify their strengths and try to hide those weaknesses if at all possible. and if you don't know how to do that, then you are the problem, coach, literally. So that's where we at, man. I hope the Lakers can pull off a trade for DeJounte Murray. That would make me very happy, especially if you can keep from having to move Rui to do it. I mean, move Austin, rather. Rui's probably going to have to go. But if you can keep my picks and you can keep Austin out of those trades, that would be the most ideal thing for me as a Laker fan. And if I'm on the other side of that table, I'm going to make sure you're not able to do that. Just being completely honest with you. I'm going to make sure you're not able to do that. So that's why it's incumbent upon coach getting these guys on the floor and letting them play. Max Christie needs to play more. Period. If Jalen Hood-Schifino is available to develop properly, we need to start getting him them G League minutes and getting him ready. You know, he needs to be good by the end of this season. If not, at least it's good enough to say we didn't make a mistake in drafting him. Because you look at some of them dudes we passed on, Jaime Jaquez, you see how he's playing right now? Unacceptable, Lakers. Nick Smith is about to start taking off. Look at some of these rookies out here. They're playing better, man. And we sitting there with Jalen Hood-Schifino. He ain't even gotten an opportunity. That's bogus. I say the same thing to Atlanta in regards to Kobe Buffkin. Bogus. You need to start creating roles for these young guys so that they can have the trade value that some of these other dudes have. Because if you don't, negative assets and diminishing player confidence, which is a big deal. So get Max Christie back in that rotation, man. Get Jalen Hood-Schifino down there to that G League if his knee is ready to go. Let's get these players playing the way they need to play. Max Lewis, he ain't getting no minutes. This is bull crap. I'm not feeling none of that. You need to get Max Lewis out there. Pepperdine, that dude was averaging, 18 points, something like that, hitting threes and all this, dynamic plays, dunking and all that. I ain't even seen him. I don't even know what he can do. And you won't send him to the G League. You just have him sitting in street clothes all year. That's not the best way to develop anybody, man. And then when you do want to use them next year, just like you did with Max, they underdeveloped because you didn't use them their rookie year. These guys need their minutes, man. Why you sitting up here playing TP freaking 40 minutes a game? You know what I'm saying? This type of crap is unacceptable. So this is where I'm looking at, man. If you can't find time for these guys in the rotation, send them to the G League and let them get all the minutes in the world. But don't have a young player sitting on the back of our bench looking around. That's garbage. So I don't know who that's on. I don't know if that's on the coaching staff. I don't know if that's on the organization. But we need to do something with Max Lewis, man. And it don't mean trading him or throwing him in any old package so you can get some old guy. No, that's a young player. You want to know what you have before you let him go. Especially since I think he's good. I don't know about Jalen, but Max Lewis, I believe in Max Lewis. Offensively especially. He going to do some things. The question is he going to do it in your uniform or is he going to do it for somebody else? And so that's my thing, man. And look, we probably should have drafted somebody else. I think we gotten to a point where one of the several theories that I've had was that Scottie Pippen has probably got just as much upside as Jalen Hood-Schifino in the long run, and we probably should have just drafted Cam Whitmore or Jaime Hawkins any damn way. With the notion that we needed a point guard, likely one who could grow in our system and our organization, I still feel like we could have got that point guard a different way and probably should have swung for the fences for the better forward. And now that things are starting to play out as they did, there's nothing that would have kept me from drafting either Hawkins or Whitmore, especially since I know the Rockets, they're not using Whitmore very much. They're really not. And that's just to their own stupidity. It ain't got nothing to do with whether or not he's a fantastic two-way guy, because he is. He's a force. And they just aren't playing him. So I've heard the rumbles about, the Lakers made the right decision because look at what they're doing with Cam Whitmore. That's them and what they're doing with the piece. That ain't what the piece can do for them. They're just being dumb. Nothing to look at there other than the Rockets deciding they want to play older guys. And so we could use Cam Whitmore for all that he does. Naturally, that's what we need. Athleticism, pressure on the rim, stretch the floor, get some steals. He does all those stuff that we want our guys to do. And so I still think he's probably the better player between him and Jaime Hawkins, even though Jaime's just got a better opportunity. He's the more dominant player. And he'll prove that. So these are the type of things it's like, yo, man, if the Rockets want to do a deal, go talk to them. Try to get Cam Whitmore. Go get the pieces that they are not using. Try to see if they could, if they would be willing to, since they got these ideas about certain things, give them a Taurean Prince and try to grab back something that actually is of value, since they want to work backwards. Because that's what I see down there in Houston. They just love moving backwards. I heard, the podcast I was listening to, Detroit's talking about they want to send Bojan Bogdanovic to Houston and try to get back Cam Whitmore. I'm like, that is like literally the opposite of anything that I would ever do if I were in Houston. But the way the Houston's been moving, I'd give it a try if I'm Detroit. Why not? See if they're that stupid to do that, to take a 35-year-old shooter for an up-and-coming athlete, future all-star. Yeah. Houston seems stupid enough to do something like that. So that's that. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because I wouldn't go for it doesn't mean that some of these GMs wouldn't. So that's how I need to be thinking if I'm the Lakers as well, man. See if they want to part from some of these young players, since nobody wants to believe in young players. See if we can move some of this garbage for one of them, since they don't hold any value right now. Amen Thompson's value's in the toilet. Houston ain't using him at all. Go get him. Anybody. I'm not just talking about the Lakers. Everybody. Go get him. Get him out of there. Since they want old players, give them your old guys. Give them your vet. Give them your role players. See if they can use your role players, since they want to get, quote-unquote, better and need vets to do that. Go get these young guys, man, before they turn into what they're going to turn into. Go get Kobe Buffkin. Make sure he's a throw-in from the Atlanta Hawks. They ain't using him. Bring him here. You know what I'm saying? And then when he pulls a Kobe White, like you're seeing in Chicago, you will have the breakout in your uniform. I keep telling people this. It's a lot of that going on around this league, man. The name that I keep telling y'all and the name that I want y'all to consider is in Charlotte, James Bouknight. James Bouknight's going to be a big-time scorer one day if he ever gets the opportunity. I know he had some behavioral issues. He had an issue with the bottle, but you go get him out of Charlotte, put him in a situation, give him a couple minutes a night, and see don't he outplay those minutes. You're going to look up and you're going to have a real nice player. And guys like that are all over the league. You just got to find them, man. And bad enough we let Kenny Lofton go to the Sixers. That was a mistake. I forgot to report on that, but that happened. So, it's just, I just know better, man. I'm going to find something in this league that nobody wants and turn it into something. I'm going to take stuff that everybody thinks is good that ain't crap, and I'm getting it off my team. These are things that I'm going to do if I'm the GM, man. And I think our GM understands that about a lot better than some. But this Jalen Hood-Schifino pick was just the wrong way to go, man. It was safe, and as a result, it turned into nothing. And while Jalen could really turn into something, his upside was never some of the upside of guys like Cam Whitmore and Jaime Hawkins. It never was. It ain't going to be. So, you know what I mean? We gotta understand that, man. Athleticism is something that should be valued a bit more in this league. You know what I mean? Guys that can lay the ball up are cool. That's nice. But you want somebody who can really dunk on somebody's head at the end of the day. You're going to want pressure on the rim. You're going to want somebody to that gets the whistle. Somebody's going to outrun the other guy. And that's what Cam Whitmore ultimately would have done for us, man. He'd have been speed running, dunking the ball, stealing the ball, transition buckets, dunking on people's heads, lighting the crowd. Jalen ain't going to do none of that, man. Jalen go hit mid-range jumpers, create three-point shots for people that can't shoot. That's exactly what Jalen's going to do. And so, I don't know, man. I don't know. I had a good time making this video this morning. I hope the Lakers can pull off the impossible, turning trash into treasure. And, you know, I don't think that the NBA is quite where I think it should be in regards to valuing certain things. And because of it, you may be able to turn trash into treasure because people don't see trash as trash nor treasure as treasure. So that's what I see right now, man. Good luck to the Lakers and all these other teams that we've talked about here, the Pistons. Hopefully you can break that losing streak at some point soon. But that's pretty much what I got. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.